Chapter 46, The Red Book. The 8th Division of the Supervisory Yuan, the full name of the Court Wen-ing General School Division, somewhat similar to a certain Republic of China government's censorship bureau, specifically responsible for reviewing all the formal ways to read the text of the book, and only through the review of the 8th division of the article, before being allowed to publish in the world. Some years ago, Wen-ing General School Division of the Duties were collected most of the education yuan, but still retains the right to audit the private printing of books for the private sector. Therefore, articles involving depictions of body art, aesthetics of violence, and proposals for reform without His Majesty's permission could not pass the scrutiny of the 8 divisions. However, regardless of the world of mankind, for politics always has a jaw-dropping fanatical hobby, so in response to the emergence of, naturally, also produced some underground booksellers. Political book theory generally no booksellers dared to touch, but like the Pleasure Array and other romance novels, but a large number of copies printed out, through different ways to enter the different cities, and then sent to the hands of the citizens who need it. The ant holding the child was undoubtedly the last link in this distribution channel. Throughout Kyoto, everyone had long been used to seeing this kind of scene, and no one would make a fuss. Even the government turned a blind eye, not to mention the people who were deeply benefited by it. What did the gentleman say? The older woman selling the forbidden books was obviously unaware of the existence of such a wonderful thing as AV, and stared wide-eyed in disbelief. Fan Xian smiled and asked, "What are some of the books?" The middle-aged woman changed her child's hand, and pulled out a large open book about 8 inches square from her arms, the pages all red, and the binding looked really good. Fan Xian just a little marveled, holding a child, such a big book in the clothes, actually did not break the corner of the book. The most popular novel in Kyoto recently. The middle-aged woman said mysteriously. Fan Xian took the book, naturally would not take the other party's pretense of mystery in his eyes, smiled and turned a page. Then his face suddenly became very wonderful. This book cover does not have a name, but the title page is written with 4 big words, cannot think of it. Turning another page, he saw the following text, who knows that this daughter-in-law has a natural curiosity. Once a man is next to the body, he feels that all the tendons and bones of his body are paralyzed, so that the man is like lying on a sheep. Fan Xian's mouth was wide open, and he couldn't speak for half a day. He saw at a glance what book this was, and it was naturally The Dream of the Red Chamber that he had copied to his sister. The passage on the title page was from the 21st chapter, the section of Pretty Pinger's soft speech to save Jialian, which told the story of the many girls. The middle-aged woman thought that this pretty little brother was moved, and laughed in a low voice. This is only one section of the text, the exciting part is still inside. That is to say, in his previous life, Fan Xian was always lying in bed, physically inconvenient, naturally inconvenient to bother the nurse sister to read. So he had to turn this section of The Dream of Red Mansions over and over again and read it countless times, depending on this many girl's jade posture in the book to let his brain sue countless times to eliminate the lack of. Today in the downtown of Kyoto, suddenly saw this familiar to cannot be familiar with the passage. How to teach Fan Xian is not surprised, feelings, just do not understand, obviously only their own and sister know The Dream of Red Mansions. How to have been printed into a book, began to open in the street above the sale. Without even returning the price, Fan Xian took out the silver money to pay the bill, not at all distressed. These silver are in tiny state when selling newspapers to get, with the luxury of the extreme. After the middle-aged woman walked away with a smile on her face, Fan Ruo led Fan Xizhe to the front of the restaurant, where Fan Xizhe did not have a face in his hand, but pinched and licked a sugar figure. "What were you doing just now?" Fan Ruo asked her elder brother with a smile. Without waiting for Fan Xian to reply, Fan Xizhe had already sneered with a cold smile on his face. "I saw it. He bought a book on that woman's hand, and he didn't know to take shelter and buy these unsightly things on the street." Fan Ruo was slightly stunned, not knowing what was going on. Fan Xian at this time, but in his heart, he wanted to find a place to ask his sister, so he didn't bother to talk to the kid, just as Fuji Zijing came out of the building to report that the compartment had been vacated. So Fan Xian pulled Ruo's slightly cold little hand and walked upstairs. Fan Xizhi froze, licked the mouth. Sugar people hurriedly followed again. While the restaurant was full of people, the third floor was quiet, except that the compartments were also booked up early, so it seemed that Fuji Zijing's ability to get a compartment was indeed good. Fan Xian felt that he had indeed made a very good decision in asking his old man to have him come. Sitting down at the table, Fan Xian glanced at Fan Xizhi, whose eyes were spinning, and with a slight smile, he didn't avoid him, handing the red-paged book in his hand to his sister. Fan Ruo frowned slightly and took it, only turning the title page. A look of surprise appeared in her eyes, and after a few more turns, she was even more shocked, and hurriedly turned back to nervously explain, "Brother, this is the first time I've seen it as well." Fan Xian smiled and comforted, "It's not like I blame you." He had long guessed that his sister would definitely order The Dream of the Red Chamber that she had copied into a booklet, and would definitely not be able to resist sharing it with her close girlfriends. Only that he thought to himself that Ruo's girlfriends must all be young ladies from royal families, and that even if there was a slight circulation of the booklet, there was no reason for it to be passed on to the world. Until he saw this dream of red mansions on the street today, he realized that he had gone to another world and still underestimated the toughness of the pirates. Fan Ruo recalled a tsunami of events. Last year, she had ordered all the 68 books of The Dream of the Red Chamber in one place, and was resting in her own boudoir with a hardwood press, and occasionally one day, Prince Jing's family's Zojia sheriff came to the mansion for a leisurely chat, and happened to see the book, and then refused to let go of the book after picking it up, saying that she wanted to bring it back to the mansion. But in Fan Ruo's mind, this is the text of her brother's heart and soul. How can she dare to put it outside the house, in case something is lost? Therefore, no matter how hard Princess Rugia begged, and even started to lose her temper, she did not agree. In the end, the Princess Jing thought of a way to let the female officials of the royal family come over to copy a few days. When it came down to it, Fan Ruo couldn't do anything to stop her, so she let her go. Who knows that this book has become a well-known secret, secretly circulated among the princes and residences. Then it circulated again to the market. No one knows that I wrote it, right? Fan Xian took the book and flipped through it, finding slight comfort in the fact that the author's name was written as Chao Shua Chen. Fan Ruo blamed herself. Brother regards fame and fortune as floating clouds. I accidentally circulated this book, which is already a big mistake. How dare I reveal that this book is from your handwriting? Fame and fortune are like floating clouds? Fan Xian laughed awkwardly and rubbed his sister's head, but realized that he had accidentally messed up the hairstyle on the little girl's head, so he hurriedly apologized and explained, "Since I wrote it, I am naturally prepared to let the world read it." Thinking of the silver previously paid out, and some meat pain, sighed, just did not expect to actually let the pirate merchants eat the first bite of soup, a pity for the silver. The siblings talked for a while, and the waiter started to serve the food, so they stopped talking. At this very moment, the two of them, however, simultaneously noticed that Fan Xi just suddenly broke free from the silence, looked at Fan Xian with some shock, slurred a bit, and said enviously, "That book was written by you?"